One of the most important aspects of your writing is the use of mechanics in your writing. You want to make sure that your writing is mechanically correct as much as possible. When you're writing to your teachers or when you're writing in the workplace. And so thinking specifically about writing emails, considering your mechanics, the mechanical correctness of your writing is essential. So one of the websites that I use on a regular basis is the Purdue OWL. It's their online writing lab. And at the Purdue OWL, you can find some helpful information on a lot of different things having to do with writing. And you can see the headings over along this left side of the page. And we're going to look through this section on mechanics, but there also is a section on grammar and punctuation and just a variety of other topics. And so you can just Google Purdue OWL from the Purdue University and find this. So an introduction to mechanics, and so these different elements are generally considered when we talk about mechanics. Spelling, the use of numbers in your in a piece of writing, your sentence structure and your sentence style, and those two are key to being a good writer and being clearly understood by your reader. And of course, spelling is essential for someone to understand what you're talking about, to not confuse one word for another. All of those are essential. One of the problems that I see in emails quite often is that students write run-on sentences. They start at the beginning of their thought and they don't put any punctuation in. They just write and write and write and write. And so there are no clear sentences. There's no indication of when one thought begins and ends and another thought begins and ends. And so you want to think about that and make sure that you are writing well-structured, complete sentences, that they are not fragments, they're not just pieces of thought, but that every sentence has a subject and a verb and expresses a clear idea. Also, you want to make sure that you begin your sentences with capital letters. So all of these are indications of your thought process, and they convey that thought process to a reader. And so think about your sentence structure. Make sure that each sentence is clear, that each sentence makes sense, that each sentence expresses a complete thought. There is a review here of the parts of speech. There is a review on sentence clarity, a sentence on, or a section on different approaches that you can take to writing, from tying a thought that you just made into your next sentence by referring at the beginning of a new sentence to what you just said beforehand, to make sure that that progression from one thought to the next is clear to a reader who can't read your mind, but is just trying to read what you have written. And so the reader expects what you have written to be following a standard, following expected usages. And so some different information in here about writing clear sentences. Again, a section here on the parts of speech, if you need an overview of that. A section on sentence fragments. A sentence fragment is just an incomplete thought. It's an incomplete sentence. It's punctuated like a sentence, but it's just part of a thought. It doesn't complete the thought. It doesn't convey an entire idea. And so you want to pay attention to that and make sure that the sentences that you are writing are well structured and well thought out, that each sentence conveys a separate thought. An explanation here of transitions, which are words that can carry you from one thought to the next, such as first, and then expressing one idea, and then a new transition, second, and then you express that second idea. Those are transition words. After, next, finally, also, those are all transition words that help the reader follow your train of thought to the place that you want them to be. Remember that when you write, you are writing for a reader. You're writing for someone else who doesn't know what you are talking about until you explain it to them. And so you want to do your very best job of using the standard expectations of of English grammar and mechanics to convey that thought to someone else. An explanation of capitals, using capital letters, because beginning your sentence with capital letters is important. It lets the reader know that you're at a new beginning. And so all of those elements of writing, paying attention to those mechanical aspects of your writing, that writing is not just putting all of your ideas down on paper in the same way that you might say them. Because when you say them, you make occasional pauses, and the reader can hear you and can assume that you're beginning a new thought. With writing, we don't have those pauses, unless you put the correct punctuation in. And so it's essential that when you are writing, you think about those mechanical aspects of your writing so that you can convey your thoughts in the clearest way possible to your reader.